I'm looking out the window of the airplane as we taxi towards the runway. There's an ad in the Taos news, and it says, "We're starting gay pride in Taos. Come, let's see if we can make this happen." And I think, hey, I think I want to be involved. I come down to Civic Plaza Drive in Taos at the town buildings, and I round the corner, and in this room is this young guy, and he's texting away. I ask, "Hey, are you doing Taos Pride?" And he looks up to me and smiles, and he has this big grin. And in fact, he has these big ears going off to the side. He sort of looks like a happy chipmunk. He introduces himself. "I'm Robert Quintana." "I'm Enrico. So I hear you're doing Taos Pride. What sort of help do you need?" And he looks up from his phone and he says, "Well, what do you think you can do?" "Well, I can help out with ads. I can take photographs. I can do the website for you if you need a website." And he says, "Oh, that's great. That's fantastic." So I ask where the other people are. And he says, "Well, they couldn't be here, but they'll help out." This is the first time they're doing a Pride in Taos. So I ask Robert, "When's Taos Pride?" And he says, "Well, we're doing it in 4 months." I said, 4 months? We really need to get to work here. So in order to have Taos Pride, we need some money. We want to do it in Kit Carson Park. And Robert says that he wants this to be the biggest, gayest party in Taos, and he wants everyone to come. In order to do this, he comes up with this idea for a bake sale. He wants it to be the gayest bake sale ever. He tells me to put that in the flyers. It's the gayest bake sale ever. But this is like the first time that Taos is going to have a gay pride event. They haven't had anything in the past. There wasn't a parade, you know. I was uncertain whether or not Taos was ready for this. Are they going to accept it? We make arrangement at Sid's, and we put out the table, and we send out a call to all of our friends to bake some stuff for our bake sale. You know, in the morning at 9 o'clock, people start showing up. They're bringing their cupcakes, they're bringing their cookies, they're even bringing like colorful fruit things, little skewers for us to sell. Behind the table, there is our drag queen, and she's dressed up with a tiara, and she's there with the cookies and cakes and ready to sell. And, you know, it's a giant success. I felt when it was done that Taos really accepted us. It really brought us into their heart, really found a place here. A couple months later, we still need more money to have this event at Kit Carson Park. And so Robert comes up with this idea for a dog wash. And he wants it to be the gayest dog wash ever. And it's also a competition for the gayest dog ever, too. So we're there at the parking lot of the Don Fernando. People have brought a kiddie pool and filled it with water and soap. And the kids are there rubbing the soap into the dogs and getting the dogs clean. And other people washing cars. Robert's there keeping up the energy for the whole crowd. He's there at the end of a microphone. He asked me to bring a speaker so that we could play music and be the ringleader there to make sure that everything went nicely. We couldn't plug it in to the wall or anything. I brought a battery to keep everything running. As the afternoon goes on, the power, it's slowly running down, and the speaker is just not outputting any sound. He says, "Enrico, come on. I need more sound. I need to keep everything running and going." Ultimately, everything works out, but he's really stressed out there for a moment. Robert is an amazing personality. In order to get this done, he had to run back and forth across Taos, going into each of the shops and saying, you know, "Come on, we want to do Taos Pride. How can you help us?" If you squint your eyes on the horizon when you're seeing Robert walk by, even then you can see this guy's gay. This guy's really gay. And later on I hear that while walking through the plaza one day asking the shop owners for help, someone yells out to him, "You faggot." And I was shocked to hear about that. I always knew that it was a possibility, that it was distressing to hear. So I'm in the truck with Robert. We're coming from one of our last meetings just before our event. And we've been working hard for the last couple months trying to make sure that everything comes together. Robert doesn't have a car, so I'm driving him back to his place. And as we go past the plaza and we head down Cantu Hill, Robert turns to me and he says, "Enrico, I've really gotten to know you over these last couple months, and I'm wondering if you want to be my boyfriend." Now, Robert has so much energy and spark and life, and part of the trade-off between that energy and positivity is he has moments of darkness, and I need level in my life. I let Robert know that while we may not be boyfriends, we can be friends. And as we finish coming down the hill, the family has set up a kettle corn shop next to the old KFC that is now a laundromat. And Robert looks over and he says, "Oh man, I really love that kettle corn. Can we stop?" I say, "Robert, we have to get back home." And so we don't get kettle corn that time. So we are a couple weeks away from Taos Pride, and I'm trying to text Robert. We have a couple things to do, and he's not responding to my texts. And I try to call him, and he doesn't pick up. And I think, oh, I need to go over and see if he's okay. So on my way over, I'm driving by the kettle corn place, and I think, oh, I should pick up some kettle corn for Robert. And I go up to his door, and I knock on it, and no one answers. And I look through the window at the side, and I can't see anything. I don't know what to do, and so I just leave the bag of kettle corn there at the door. The next day, we hear from the police that they found Robert's body in his apartment. He had overdosed. And everyone finds out, and we don't know what to do. We have just a couple weeks before Taos Pride. This has been Robert's dream, to make this thing happen. Robert has been doing all the work. Robert has been going and getting the information and getting the names and phone numbers, and we have no idea how this is going to happen. Later on in the day, the police come by and drop off a folder with all of his notes and names and phone numbers. When we see that, we get together and we have to decide whether or not this is going through. And we decide we're going to have the gayest pride in Taos. There's a church at the end of Taos where we've been getting together to plan Taos Pride. And they offered to hold a service for Robert. And we all show up there, and his friends and families come, and we sit around the edge of the room. And together we sing "Somewhere Over the Rainbow" to remember him. And then the next day at the funeral home, they hold another service just for his family. And Robert was an amazingly talented person with amazing energy. And I think it was the second year of American Idol, and he had tried out as a singer. He made it almost all the way onto the show because I really loved his energy, but he didn't quite make it. During the service, his family was all around, and people had been talking about Robert. But then everyone went silent, and I didn't know what was going on, and they had turned on his song. I hear Robert singing. It just takes my breath away, really. I'm looking out the window of the airplane as we're about to leave, and I'm on my way to Maine, to the East Coast. The engines roar, and I fall back into my seat, and I see the sandias falling away. As I'm lifting into the air, I don't see the mountains. I see Taos at Kit Carson Park, and my friends there about to throw the gayest pride ever.